the ace. That's the game. TSM goes the full 5 and takes down Cloud9 to be the 2014 North American champions.
Welcome back to the 2015 Spring Championship. You just got a look at TSM's championship win in the 2014 Summer Split, and Cloud9 will be looking to retake their crown. Here we see them in the huddle and preparing for Game 2 against Team SoloMid. And so let's start with Cloud9 then. For them, I feel like, again, their play was really solid there. It's a lot about just cleaning up their play, right? Small, like misgank here, maybe a lack of vision there, giving up a dragon where they maybe shouldn't have. It's minor things that they're going to look to improve, but overall, I would say, put the pressure on TSM.
Yeah, they did put pressure on the top lane in Dyrus, but he kind of just absorbs everything. He's like a sponge that doesn't care about what ganks come at him. He just dissipates all of it, and the TSM was able to capitalize off of that. So Cloud9 gave up early leads, which is very punishable. They were playing for the late game, but it's something where you want to clean that up so you aren't as exploitable in the late game, because that could be a TSM's avenue in.
All right, and then for TSM, Freak, they might have to team fight, right? In terms of adapting, when you look against Cloud9, you look what just beat you. If you're going to run into that every game, Ari Jinx maybe isn't going to do it for you.
Sure. I mean, team fight compositions can be very good, and TSM could make the adaptation, and they would be on a more level playing field in a 5-on-5. But, I mean, SoloMid, they spent a lot of effort on the mid lane. They picked a single-target assassin, essentially, in Ari, and relying on Bjergsen to make plays. He didn't transition much of that out of lane, though. And if Bjergsen could step up a little bit more, then that whole style is going to be just fine. TSM, as a team, played very well. They saw a failed gank top, they took a dragon. They saw another failed gank top, they took a turret. All of TSM's playing well, Dyrus playing well, but if they're going to put all the emphasis on Bjergsen, he has to do something with that emphasis.
Yeah, and you could see from C9's bans that they were like, Janna, get that out of the picture, no disengage allowed. So they are probably, if that comes through again, TSM need to adapt in Champion Select to say, we can't play disengage. We have to either team fight them back or pick a Kog'Maw.
All right, looking for a little bit more out of our MVP for this split. As we send it over to our casters, one strategy that Cloud9 was trying in Game 1 was to camp Dyrus, as Irene mentioned, but High warns the tactic comes with its own dangers.
If you are committing resources to camp Dyrus top, you have to make sure you're not losing things elsewhere. Otherwise, it's very rough for you to do. So when teams try to camp Dyrus and they don't do it properly, they lose. They camp Dyrus, Dyrus might be 0-5, but why does that matter? Bjergsen's like 3-0, Turtle's like 4-0. And when their mid laner and AD carry are that strong, you're going to lose a game regardless how behind their top laner is. All you have to do is either be meat shield and take some damage or provide some utility. And that's not too hard for a top laner to do.
Says the mid laner. It's always easy to talk about somebody else's position.
Yeah, it's what TSM does, though. And in that game, Cloud9 actually was in danger of having the same thing happen to them. And interestingly enough, they didn't leave balls completely on his own. They put a lot of resources into having him as a tank initiator. And at the end of the day, thanks to Meteos, it did work out.
Thanks to Meteos, indeed. Some crazy ultimates coming out of that Sejuani. Guys, you should not be yawning just yet. Meteos and Lustboy giving out some good ones there. We are going into Game 2, so they better be ready and raring to go for the long haul here. Thresh to start off being banned. Lustboy, he's not going to get through clean on these pick ban phases.
Yeah, so much of TSM's ability to start fights off of vision control advantages comes from Lustboy's Thresh. It can either chain with the other things TSM is bringing, like an Ari. Likewise, the disengage if TSM was caught in a bad situation. You could say because Lustboy was good on Nami that the support bans didn't go that far for Cloud9 last game. But if you look at the other context of what Thresh and Janna give to TSM in that game strategy sense, they can be good bans.
Oh. So the Urgot once again with the Thresh, and the Janna is going to be taken out of this one, this time from Cloud9. That was High's pickup last time. He does not want to face Bjergsen on that. Very interesting ban so far. I do like that point, though, that kind of Lustboy gets through with whatever he needs, but they are still banning out Lemon's Nautilus. I thought that's something that would just kind of go through for him.
Good chance we'll end up seeing the Nami again.
Yeah, absolutely.
This time, though, Cloud9 first picks the Gragas for themselves, which Meteos had those game-changing ultimates on Sejuani, but at the same time, it kind of proves that they either value Gragas over Sejuani, or they feel like Santorin is so much better of a Gragas than Sejuani that is the important pick here.
Well, we'll get an idea what Team SoloMid prioritizes with these first two. Santorin on your screen. Looks like he may pick up Braum for Lustboy.
They're just going to trade team comps, Riv.
Yeah,
Easy.
Pretty much. Definitely taking their time, that's for sure. Knowing that game 1 went away, being 2 down if they aren't able to pick this one up just puts on so much more pressure here. These teams said, while they are friends coming into this game, the rivalry makes it business. They definitely want to get the win at the end of the day, obviously. Sejuani could be that pickup, but they flip it real quick. And I was thinking with that Janna ban, Kennen may be able to get into the fight, but they still keep thinking and messing with me. It's going to be the Sion pickup as well as the Sej.
The Kennen would have been interesting. Maybe we would have seen it as support. It's something they could be considering.
Right.
However, Dyrus on Sion, very effective. Sejuani is also a safe pick for them to do this early. TSM, as the red side team that typically wants to counter pick, goes with 2 of the safest picks they could early on and does prep them for a very tanky team early on. More team fight focused than last game.
What is in the champion pools of Cloud9 now? High still has quite a few things that he can put on the board. Been thinking a little bit. We were talking earlier, where's the Kassadin for these guys? Haven't seen it, but have seen a little bit of Kassadin play from other regions, as well as the North American solo queues. Corki gets picked up. I thought Wild Turtle was going to be able to grab that, so that might be a nice takeaway that Cloud9 just got with that, as well as a great pickup for High.
Nice flex pick there. They could still get it on Sneaky, but with the Urgot ban, it's very likely we see that in the mid lane. Knowing Bjergsen is going to be able to counterpick anyway, they also lock it in early. They also make sure they just get the Maokai, again, trying to give away as little as possible. We know these teams' champion pools for the most part. So at this point, it's about not giving away what your team comp is going away for as quickly as possible.
I was talking to Apollo yesterday after their games, and when they chose the Corki and he went AP, they're like, well, we planned for it to be AD, but I guess he just went AP. So it's interesting to see how that can kind of switch mid-game. Obviously, High knows what he probably wants to do going into this one with how the team has been rounded out. Sivir may also get some more action in here. Would be great for the tank comp. It's something that really escalated Cloud9's composition last game.
Sivir is huge when there are so many tanks. Oh, are they going to do Kennen Callista? All right.
Yes!
This is something we've seen a lot of over in the LPL.
Oh.
It is a support Kennen, but with Callista, it is just such a ridiculous enabler because you were throwing a Kennen into the enemy team.
So I thought it was actually going to be Sneaky and Lemon, to be honest. And in the end,
yeah, me too.
I am very surprised that it is picked up by Wild Turtle and Lustboy here.
A lot of supports in the LCK as well as the LPL have been picking up Kennen. I like it. I mean, they were daring TSM to do so with the double support ban and 3 overall support bans in this series.
And how much have they played against this in their scrims against each other? It definitely seems to have called the audible for the last few picks that Cloud9 is going to be putting onto their roster. Sneaky and Lemonation obviously looking for the AD carry support. Yes, they are. It's the Lucian Morgana, meaning that is High's Corki. And this is a pretty nice composition for Cloud9.
Yeah, they need a little bit of black shielding if they're going to be facing up against all these crowd control shots. So the Morg is a very safe pick. Lucian as well, an elusive AD carry, Sneaky. I'd say it's one of his best champions, especially because he goes off on it from time to time.
Right, he changes roles so well. Last game, that Sivir utility provide. This time, he can provide for himself. Get that bully laning phase going, which him and Lemon love to play. Definitely taking their time here. Global pressure, could it be coming in? Little shout out there to Power of Evil on Unicorns of Love, who just played Varus at the mid lane to quite a good extent. It was pretty sweet to see.
Mid lane Varus, man.
Power of Evil. The power of...
Speaking of Power of Evil.
Speaking of Power of Evil, looks like we're going to actually get a Kog'Maw in the mid lane coming for Bjergsen on this one. A very interesting team comp that Team SoloMid has gotten together here for Game 2.
AP Kog'Maw.
It is, yep, checking the masteries right now.
Lethal. But once he gets that Luden's Echo going. I really want to see how Bjergsen plays this one. It's, again, forcing Cloud9 to initiate on them. AP Kog'Maw has some of the most punishing poke damage of any champion in the history of League of Legends once he gets going. Honestly, it is ridiculous barrage when you get the max range level 16 Kog'Maw coming in. So TSM now breaking out some new picks in a lot of roles here. Kog'Maw mid lane, Ken in support with the Kalista combo. Cloud9 with much more standard stuff against it.
Standard indeed. Game 1 was pretty standard for them, and they will kind of follow through with the same coming into Game 2. But Team SoloMid feels that they need to change things up drastically. We heard about them wanting to kind of create variation in their play, and with that in the season, they picked a Cassiopeia, right? And that's the way they did it. This time, a little more extensive with their picks.
Yeah, this is not the type of champion from Bjergsen that's going to solo kill his lane opponent and then go assassinate the NP AD carry. This is a guy who has to sit back in team fights, have plays happen around him, and then deal a lot of damage. It's something TSM hasn't shown the most success with in the past, but they break it out now.
Well, the champs are locked in, as you saw, so head over to Twitter and update your series predictions. Tweet at LOL Esports. Use either the hashtag C9win or hashtag TSMwin, and we will calculate those, as always, throughout the game. The lights have been dimmed as we approach the Game 2. And it is going to be a grand one. Already Cloud9 up 1 game, putting the pressure on a Team SoloMid as we enter into the finals. Best of 5, it's Game 2. C9 is putting on the pressure.
TSM does respond to pressure quite well, though. Last year in the Summer Split Finals, Cloud9 took the first game. TSM still took the series. Even against Team Impulse last week, TSM lost the first game and then won the next 3. It's actually almost becoming expected for TSM to lose the first game of a series and then win the next 3.
Yep.
Very important momentum type game here.
So what you're saying is all according to plan.
All according to plan. It's a terrible plan to lose the first game, in my opinion. But it's obviously not that simple.
TPA did it.
Yeah.
They got Worlds. We'll see if these guys can take that road this year. Right now, they have this stepping stone to go over and fighting once again for the title of the North American champion. Right now, TSM holds that through last split, as you heard Hai saying he really wants to take it away. He thinks they have what it takes to be able to bring that statue home, the trophy rather, and put it on their shelf.
Not only is it about the rivalry between Cloud9 and TSM, but it's about the MSI spot as well. These teams
That's so true.
have heavy aspirations for Worlds since they make it to Worlds pretty much every year.
Yep.
And getting that little mini Worlds expectations as they're dodging. Oh, come on, guys.
Ooh. Mini Worlds, 20 extra championship points. Got him. See what Lustboy can do here. Now this is becoming the new thing. The support walk. It's just kind of you get buddy with the jungler.
And he denied him level 2.
Serious.
Oh my God, Lemon Nation. What a monster on Morg right here. Santorin.
If Lemon Nation was a real place, I'd move there. I'll tell you that right now.
Unreal right there. Lustboy on the other side, unsuccessful in his harass because Cloud9 started directly on their red buff. Now they're going to take Santorin's red buff because they know he doesn't have Smite and they know he's not level 2. Well, that is some slick and clever play.
This is going to be difficult. Already Team SoloMid is kind of trying something new here, and they're putting on the back burner by Cloud9, and just more and more is going to be taken from this. We'll see how long it takes Santorin to make an effect in this game. He was the one to flash in and kill high with Bjergsen to start. I don't think we'll be seeing that this game, at least not anytime soon.
I really love what Cloud9's been doing as the lane swap meta continues to evolve. It's gone through so many iterations at this point. There was way back in the day the everyone hits level 2, turret dive, 3-man or 4 dive, almost every single game.
Right.
Then eventually people progressed to double jungling. And because they were getting denied so heavily when the turrets became too difficult to dive. And it was all about denying the top laner farm. What Cloud9 has been doing with Lemon Nation's Roam is denying the jungler farm in the lane swaps. Because since they know they're giving one lane up, they take the other lane's pressure vacuum that basically doesn't exist right there, and they use that support roam to go and harass the enemy jungler. And Santorin, to his credit, did manage to finish his jungle without aid, but he got a lot stolen away from him, and it was a really cool play by Lemon Nation.
You know, the next thing that you see that came out of this is that people are following Lemon Nation in his tracks with that. Now the supports are roaming into the jungle. A little bit of a to-do that he has kind of sprouted there to really get into the jungler's head. Seems like everybody's taken to it. The bottom lane is getting quite pushed here. Too much of a freeze as they get as much damage down onto the turret as they can. Top lane, however, is trying to be held off from Dyrus at his lane. As we see Bjergsen just get back. A little down in CS, but he should be able to clean that up as he comes in.
It was all about getting his tier as quickly as possible.
Right.
Bjergsen had enough money for the tier of the goddess, shopped right away. He wants to shove that lane as fast as possible. Time to Valk over top of it.
Yep. He had to squeeze through just to get that extra damage on the W back in the lane. So now Bjergsen nicely gets there for the siege wave, back to the right time, and like you said, with that gold for his tier, begins to stack it up. Be ever so nicely without that W costing anything these days. So he will catch up. High looks to come back to lane, trying to build out the phage, but goes for a little bit of vision as well, as he doesn't have all the money he needs. That vote getting much closer after game one has swayed a few minds.
Cloud9 fans coming out of the woodwork
That's
now
right.
after they win that first game.
Hey, we're gamers. We sleep late. We're still waking up.
Yeah, and the early jungle denial, we'll see how much that sets back Santorini. He has been farming pretty well, though. Meteos has stayed out so long with the double jungle from balls.
He's got to
In
deliver
fact,
presence.
Despite everything that Cloud9 did, Dyrus and Santorin both have level advantages on Meteos and balls. So scratch all that advantage stuff that I was talking about. Experience-wise, TSM is actually up in those categories. Surprising.
Right, they were still doubling. He was going through solo somehow still.
Yeah.
Had he
I
gotten
feel
any
like-
more pressure, that would have been pretty bad.
I feel like Meteos double jungled so much with the Maokai, and Dyrus was able to soak experience in the top lane, but the main credit actually goes to Santorin for knowing how to jungle without early level 2, without having his own side of buffs. Used his smite very efficiently on the Gromp, was able to farm while Dyrus was soaking experience, and it ends up being a slight win for TSM experience-wise.
There you go. That's some practice for yourself. Get through the jungle without smiting. Just go.
Yeah.
Also take damage and have your grab stolen.
Have
Or
the
Krug.
other Krug stolen. Don't hit level 2. Get hit by 2 Morg bindings. Now you're simulating what it's like to jungle against Lemon Nation.
There you go. Hard mode scenario. Yep. Talking about the first game being quite typical. Most of the fans saw that play out. It is going to be a close series. Liquid very happy they're placing third this split. Now watching Cloud9 and Team SoloMid fight for number 1. There it is. He has pleased the fans. High farming in the mid lane. So back
Gotta
and
get
forth.
those CS.
They're keeping this one safe. Like you said, Bjergsen is going to keep himself in a position where he can't be easily ganked. Kog'Maw doesn't have too many escapes other than that summoner spell, but he is running Ghost Flash to make sure he can dodge skill shots and pretty much anything in the fight.
Extra mobility, summoner spells.
Yeah.
Honestly, Kog'Maw just wants to survive the early laning phase until he gets his ultimate, which Bjergsen has done. It changes the early game strategy for TSM, though. It's no longer a guide to gank for, which is interesting that Cloud9 still puts so much pressure on Santorin to prevent early game ganks when the early game ganks actually aren't that threatening in this particular game. Instead, they're farming up. Meteos still hasn't ganked, despite being the superior early game ganker to the Sejuani.
Right.
And Cloud9 needs to make an impact of some kind. Smart of him to come down here for this wave, though, because there's a significant risk of a dive if he did not.
Also not knowing if Santorin has catapulted himself to 6 just yet. He did see that they were higher level as they entered C9's jungle earlier. Ball is cleaning up the CS, does get the siege. He actually cleans up that wave nicely, but a lot of focus here from Team SoloMid is going to be warded out.
Yeah, and
Very safe play here for C9.
Cloud9 doesn't have another lane pushing yet. Now that TSM has 4 people down here, the wave clear, though, of Gragas Maokai is substantial. Really good map placement of himself by Meteos there.
Oh,
The Kog'Maw ultis could come in if Bjergsen wanted to support this, but he's just stuck farming.
Lustboy has that passive shuriken up. Definitely could have caught the stun. Just on the outside, High gets himself to safety, saving his summoner spells, and we'll get back to mid lane as well. So TSM is definitely trying to use this composition right away here, even though they were kind of kicked in the early game. Santorin doing a beautiful job to keep them from falling too far behind. Just about 700 gold in the lead for C9 here. Sheen fixed up. Actually, before High has finished his phage, he wants to be able to trade a bit of damage back if he does get in range of Bjergsen, it seems. BF swords for the 80 carries here as this lane start to pan out.
Interesting. Meteos has enough gold from all the double jungling. He wasn't soaking experience, but he was soaking gold, as well as helping balls catch that big wave. He gets a pretty early Cinderhulk on Gragas.
I've actually seen him play the same way in Italy, right? He'll just farm his face off, and then he comes out of nowhere, and you're like, where did this guy come from that I haven't seen all game?
Where did all this power come from? That's the real
Nice.
question.
Nice twisted
And here's
hands.
Meteos' gank. Oh no! Dyrus missed his flash.
Dyrus flashed right into it, and he gets body slammed. They're going to get a little bit of that from Meteos and Balls coming up first blood.
Very poor avoidance of that gank there by Dyrus, burning his flash and still getting hit by the very wide Gragas that he needed to respect more heavily.
Ooh, that's the E used as well. Lustboy doesn't have an escape unless he tries to flash out of this. Turtle repairing a bit of that error there. Lemonation, great brush control.
Cloud9's getting these lanes in pretty good control right now. Bjergsen still delaying until Luden's Echo.
You serious?
Oh, now Sneaky's in trouble though.
Oh.
Lemonation committed pretty hard to try and get that binding.
Whoa!
Oh my!
The Rend in the end, baby. Woo!
4 points in Rend.
Oh, man.
Early on for Wild Turtle. Lemonation, just when you think you had an edge.
Yeah, that.
One missed binding that he committed for, and Wild Turtle makes a Wild Turtle play.
That's an absolute false sense of security given there to Lemonation and bait. Hook, line, and sinker for
And
TSM.
they get the blue off.
Yeah, that's just going to mention they creep down, take the blue. That means they're going to get even more vision here. So High is going to have a hard time trading with Bjergsen if he continuously gets his.
Controlling
as well.
both blue buffs for an AP Kog'Maw is so
Absolute.
amazing. One of the most important champions to have a blue buff on is AP Kog'Maw because he is ridiculously mana intensive. I mean, Cloud9 was winning these laning phases, and it was looking like they had a chance of snowballing the mid game away.
Yeah.
But misplay there by Lemonation and Sneaky gives a lot of pressure back to TSM. The blue buff steal as well as the kill and the pressure in the lane.
See Santorin creeping on a pink ward. They want to hit this lane again. They know C9 may try to get a bit of an edge back, but C9 are not. They know they want to stay safe after that situation, so it doesn't look like Santorin's going to get too much out of this situation here in the top lane. And High now forced to farm without that blue in the mid. He's kept himself up in CS. Also, another game where Bjergsen has not been able to roam. We'll see how that impacts everything. That does mean that mid lane is going to get a bit more pressure. Not enough to kill Bjergsen this time, though.
I mean, it just makes it even more important that Wild Turtle picked up that kill because no one is going to help him this game. Santorin, maybe on Sejuani. Bjergsen's not going to roam, and Dyrus certainly isn't going to help. Dyrus is so defensive this game on that Scion.
Yep.
Normally you see a Scion max Q or E. Dyrus is maxing his shield, his W right now, because he is in complete defensive mode, just trying to pick up farm. A lot of good it's doing him as well. Good thing he maxed that shield, otherwise he might be dead off to that culling.
That definitely could have taken him down had he not had...
He has no offensive threat, though, so Sneaky has to
now.
bully him around.
Well, with Dyrus being pushed out in the bottom lane, they want to get pressure in the top. Answering the turret here. Now one for Team SoloMid. Once they got the first one in game one, Team SoloMid was able to go all the way across the outer line of turrets and take them down immediately. Well, one's taken for the next. Cloud9 makes sure they get something even more.
Yeah, well,
No! Whoa! Hey! All right, that might have been a little too far forward. Thought High could give him a bit more help. Don't go too close to Lustboy in the brush. That's going to be the stun. He's actually able to take down Wild Turtle in that situation. The Lustboy kind of just dipped out of the situation.
Couple of misplays right there by both teams. Balls underestimated the Ken and Callista dive combo right there when he was trying to stay under turret. And then Wild Turtle overestimated his own strength against a Corki, gets hit by the skill shots, and goes down himself. Ends up being an overall trade right there. Kill for kill, turret for turret.
I feel like we're getting some Scrim-esque moments out of these guys. Be like, I think I can. Actually, let's try it. Let's go.
They're just testing their limits, Riv. That's what they like to say.
Exactly. Lemonation testing the limits of Dyrus. And looks like he's at the end of his fuse on that one. Backing once again, just getting back to the lane after being called out. He's not getting too much time with the minions. So he goes back safely. He does have his flash coming up in a little bit here. but he's going to head towards the top lane. So we could look for a TP coming from him into a play. We still have to see if he can ring the dinner bell and get that Sion ultimate placed nicely. So BM.
Well, Bjergsen, I think he has enough to get his Ludens.
Get it.
Yeah, he's sitting on 2,400 gold. I'm not familiar enough with the build path to know what the Needle drug plus the upgrade is. But he is very, very close. Wants to go back as quickly as possible. As soon as AP Kog'Maw gets the Luden's Echo, it becomes devastating. There it is.
Start to hurt, indeed. There it is. And he actually had an extra 250 to go ahead and upgrade that trinket. Sitting on pretty much no more gold as he throws a ward and some biscuits in there. So he's actually going as well, that support tree, so he can keep the mana up for mana-intensive Kog'Maw. The tier getting stacked for him is now sitting at just around 400. Looks like he'll be sitting pretty just over 20 minutes as he gets his mana fixed up. A lot easier for him to clear these waves as well and stay out of range of high. He's got himself up 5 CS now.
Yeah.
Things are starting to pan out. It's really who can get the first fight off of this one.
Ooh, step slow.
Can Santorin get the 5-man?
Yeah, I don't think we're seeing many more 5-man Sejuani ultimates this series. Cloud9 will want to spread out through that, as well as Black Shield, hopefully preventing at least one person from getting hit by it.
Yeah.
The way these teams trade objectives, though, really shows how familiar they are with each other and how much they've actually copied each other's playstyles throughout the year.
That's a good point.
Early on in the year, Cloud9 and TSM just started copying each other's lane swaps or copying CLG's lane swaps because they were the best. They're very free to just take whatever someone else is doing and adapt it to their own playstyle. This would be a true example of it if Bjergsen takes the AP Kog'Maw as in the mid-focus team and they're able to win with it.
Well, so far sniping high when he's throwing out the living artillery. Just not a whole heck of a lot of range or damage coming out for that first ult unless you can follow up with that W. TSM wants to grab a little bit more objective control here in the game, especially having a Kog'Maw as well. They'll be able to chew down Baron when they want to. Balls now to clean up the bottom wave. Definitely a closer game between the top laners in this one, 70-70 in CS. So can they control this again? It's going to be very big and hurt high once again.
Yeah, I will not be able to spam that much.
Nope, just about no contest there. They can just watch it go down.
Maybe they get some position in the mid lane, though. It's still going to be difficult. They have to respect the Sej ultimate, and Bjergsen can keep him at bay with that blue buff.
He's down to half mana already, and he hasn't really tagged anybody with those attacks. First living artillery comes out and hits him. Valkyrie's away. Balls is getting good free time in the bottom, though. If Cloud9 can kite the fight here and hold this middle turret.
This is the setup that TSM wants. Blue buff, Luden's power spike on the mid lane Kog'Maw. He lands a few spells. He pushes people clean off the turret. Cloud9 has no real sustain if the 80 carries get hit here. Maokai and Gragas can kind of heal themselves up, but it is really hard to defend. At this point, either Cloud9 has to be in mid lane at full health to engage, or they have to be split pushing lanes while TSM is grouped. Neither are happening right now.
Not enough, just powerful wave clear off the bat. They have a little bit. Meteos can't do everything by himself. Good aggression as they also get high to come back in there. Once they get Elimination, the Tormented Soil, they should be able to clear waves so much better. So TSM actually cannot get the middle turret after actually putting quite a few members there, just about 4. Sion back to the bottom lane as Dyrus cleans up that bot wave.
Meteos burning that ultimate just for the turret diminishes his ability to apply pressure to lanes. Which is good for the wave clear. It saves the turret, but it also makes the next round of turret pushing by TSM much safer. And maybe even gives them some time to shop a bit of their own stuff.
Wow.
Bloodthirster on Wild Turtle. Going to be going Hurricane after that.
Bjergsen also grabbing himself an elixir.
Well, he's going all out on
18 minutes.
All out on that mid-game power spike.
400 gold that you've just thrown out.
Yeah, there's a surprising amount of mana regen on that mid-game elixir as well.
That's true.
But it is a very Bjergsen-esque thing to do. He probably buys more elixirs like that around 20 minutes than any other mid laner.
Right.
Because he often has an early game advantage, but wants to crush the game at that exact moment.
At least he's brought up his pink wards. I remember that one season he went 11 or so games without buying a pink ward as a mid laner. He's right at that, though. He is helping. Oh, there you go. 2 wards there.
Even so, High still purchases substantially more wards each game.
That's true.
Many times, most mid laners would go back, buy a ward. If High has 225 gold and he's in base, he's buying 3. And he'll
Why not?
place them eventually.
Definitely make sure he gets a sweeper early, really providing assistance to any of the snowballs. Now, a little bit of love around the Dragon Pit as it is alive. This fight could be big enough for Baron in 30 seconds as well, so a lot can hinge on this fight. Mid turrets do need to be taken down, however, if TSM wins this one.
It's really dangerous for Cloud9 to initiate, especially against Kennen Callista.
Yeah.
Either the Kennen can just stay true and zone them out, or get thrown into the squishies once Cloud9 dives through. It's basically Corki poke versus AP Kog'Maw poke. And typically the AP Kog'Maw poke will win this one. TSM definitely trying to abuse this Luden's Echo right now.
Yep.
Gonna be tricky.
See a beard glowing with the sorcery now. A little bit of that extra damage over the wall could be Meteos, but the team is not following. They're pressuring middle, trying to go to the beat of their own drum. Could be a good trade. They already have 1 dragon, so they're just giving up the equal. Looks like they may still try to engage the fight, knowing that Dyrus is out of position. That's going to be balls going straight in. Lustboy doesn't really get too good of an ultimate on that one. He pulls back in the fight, but they're able to drop balls, knowing the Lustboy didn't need to go too deep. Dyrus from downtown just crushes Lemon Nation. They follow up with Bjergsen to secure the kill, and they may even be able to get more with this turret prepped. They are actually going to call that one off. They come up with 2 kills nicely.
Lemon flashes backwards to the charging Scion. That does not help you. He even threw a Dark Binding at it. It looked like Lemon Nation literally panicked and just pressed all his buttons at that point. But the team fight itself in the favor of TSM. Cloud9 traded the objective. The gold comes back for TSM. Even after Dyrus got caught there, it just kind of goes to show you some of the brute force power that TSM has with this power spike right now as they're able to force that dragon.
It looked like Dyrus was caught out.
He was.
That's where he
Until he
feels
flashed.
the safest. That's where he comes out the biggest. We'll see this one more time. I thought Lustboy kind of panicked because he was right out of the fight, but they
didn't
had
expect
everything
that
they
initiation.
needed. Right.
Thank goodness, though, he gets the Fate's Call from the Callista. And even with all that missing, not a great Kennen ultimate, a missed Sejuani ultimate,
Boom.
Elimination gets caught up by Dyrus, making it a 2-4-0 and a turret trade.
What a disgusting composition you kind of see come together there. If Scion hits that person, they're getting living artillery. They're getting popped up again, which means they're getting a second living artillery. That person could die from max range for Kog'Maw with just Dyrus being there. It's so well used. We might see it again coming from these guys. 22 minutes on the clock. We do see the potential that this composition from Team SoloMid has, but still, these game-changing ultimates. A good Grag Assault separates Bjergsen from the team. They're out a lot of power.
Yeah, and the blue buff control been incredibly critical.
Yep.
For Bjergsen in this game.
We see High starting half of these fights, half mono. He's got
It's
his
very
now.
true.
Next one
Did he
should be good.
he finally got his blue buff?
Finally got his.
That's very important for the poke war that they might end up having. But now with 3 auto turrets down on both sides, it's that open map situation again, where TSM this time again has gone with the mid lane trinket for the AP Kog'Maw, whereas High's gone for the sweeper. So therefore Cloud9 gets slightly more vision denial, will have to pay more for their own vision control. And TSM will have more vision, but slightly less vision denial unless they spam pink wards, which we've seen them buying a numerous amount of.
Oh. Bjergsen's placement on those, very tricky. Even thought that one was going to miss sneaky, but he is getting them to connect. Dyrus, the face check, but that Soul Furnace Max keeping him nice and tanky. He throws off the ultimate. Now the living artillery's hit. Didn't get that full pop-up, though, as they try to change targets. The team not really in communication right now. High to the backside. A lot of peeling going down here for Cloud9 on the side of Team SoloMid. There's the ult, but Bjergsen got pushed away with Wild Turtle, and they're still alive for that situation. Very scattered. Only Lustboy and Balls go down.
Yeah, Lustboy found himself over on a corner for some strange reason. That was a very odd fight right there, but still, TSM is able to trade that. Santorin and Sejuani ultimates have been nothing compared to Meteos' ultimates from the last game, but it has not mattered here because the damage from the Kog'Maw and the overall team fighting for TSM has just been better.
A good push through. Clean and clear for TSM to get that turret without any trouble. High went off immediately towards the top side to add a little bit of pressure to the map. Always trying to facilitate something more for the team if they know they're kind of being knocked down a few rungs. May not have the clearance to do this.
Yeah.
Stay safe. A little scary there from high.
Well, he was trying to get a nice, cheeky little buff steal after having a pretty good team fight high.
It would have been good. I mean, he's going for a ton of peel for himself, right? That red buff on top of the blade now that he's actually cored second.
High really likes the Bilgewater Cutlass instead of Luden's Echo on the mid lane Corki, mainly because it gives him more split pushing and dueling potential. I mean, even in that last fight, we saw High Valking on top of Lust Boy to get off the active from the Bilgewater Cutlass and kill him. Can't do the same types of plays with Luden's Echo Corki.
So, the Righteous Glory now finished up on to Meteos, which also kind of seems scary as well. Running into this Team SoloMid composition needs to be done ever so carefully, or you're going to be running into a big front line of tanks, and Dyrus and Santorin are completely ready for that. Buffs are being cleared up now. Cloud9 has found a way to break TSM's vision once in Game 1. We'll see if they can do it again here in Game 2.
This time, though, they don't get the Sejuani on their side. They actually decided to first pick the Gragas. And when Balls has been able to initiate and catch a person on Maokai, it hasn't really been a catch. Unless they can actually get their mitts on Bjergsen and blow him up right away, they're set, or Callista actually, they're setting themselves up for pain. Getting Sejuani or Sion won't matter. They'll still get off their ultimates. Getting Callista can very easily be pulled back from the cannon, even after getting the stuns off from the ultimate. So the target selection that Cloud9 has is very limiting.
Yeah.
And the poke they are subject to is very powerful right now, making it really hard for Cloud9 to go in and get fights. Don't recall on top of a pink ward. Bad idea.
Maybe they don't see me, the mind games. 4 seconds on Dragon. It looks like that will be soloed out by Wild Turtle. No trouble for him there. So this means TSM is getting all the things they want now with really out the pressure of Cloud9. Except, okay, Cloud9 starts to back off just a little bit. I thought they were going to clear that ward and do what they needed to at Baron. Pressure, however, towards the mid lane. It could be for Bjergsen and Santorin here, but it's only clearing. Look how many wards there are. They actually don't have a chance to even get in for a fight right now.
Again, TSM with the ward spam builds. They have 2 guys with sight stones, so 4 wards every time they go back to base for free, and the 2 upgraded yellow trinkets, which is a yellow ward up to 2 charges that recharges while you're out on the battlefield every 60 seconds.
Yeah,
basically,
you don't have to go back.
That is 4 people that can place down the maximum number of wards without cost at all times. 12 full green wards for free, basically, with those combination of vision controls.
Absolute priority to that. I even thought Bjergsen would maybe switch to a scrying orb at some point, but it looks like he's just going to completely stick with it. It's too much of an advantage, really, to give up that vision. Here towards the mid, saplings and the likes are what Cloud9 can use from very, very long range. Can't really initiate onto high as he would just jump out of the situation, but Dyrus here seems much more comfortable than on a Lulu, being able to be in the front and really produce results for the team. Plays with confidence.
And Cloud9 is really hoping that TSM makes an overreach right here, because TSM has the strong team fight right now. If Bjergsen is in a safe place, they're generally safe. They're going for blue buff. Cloud9, they don't want to go for blue buff.
Now fighting without that. They actually tried to take this, hoping they would have the upper hand as they were focused on that blue, but it was quickly taken down, and they can retunnel right back onto Cloud9.
Yeah.
C9 they're scratching at TSM right now, and they're not getting much out of it.
Really light scratches onto that max shield Sion. Maybe they try and use that pressure to go push up the mid lane. Cloud9 trying to play the rotational game. They're getting some damage on the mid turret.
Sneaky with good focus. He may have to back off here. Dyrus throws down the ulti right into the team. He gets the 3-man pop-up as well. The follow-up now from Lustboy. The Fate's Call can still save him, but he wants to stay in the fight. Him and High now on the back line, trying to throw out the shurikens. We see that Meteos is able to take down Dyrus, and now it's the throw. Lustboy gets called back into the fight, and they're going to try to chase down Cloud9 here. Bjergsen gets the Void, who's just on the end. Still has the Living Artillery in range. Only a little bit of mana left for him, but he will miss that next shot into Meteos, and I don't think he'll have enough to continue with the kill.
Bjergsen can't land enough Living Artilleries. Cloud9 gets out with the sliver, and a fight that didn't seem like it would go Cloud9's way after Santorin landed his best Sejuani ultimate of the game results in 0 kills for TSM and 2 deaths.
One more time. Dyrus is nailing
Beautiful.
these.
I think it was 4. Yeah, a 4-man stun as High got stunned while valking away.
Right.
Into a max charge Q from Dyrus. And then a cannon ultimate on 3. But those game-changing ultimates. Meteos blasts back the damage dealers. It gives Cloud9 time to kill the tanks. They kill both of them while they're gone because they have double AD carries that were not bursted out entirely. Bjergsen could not land the long-range living artilleries. Cloud9 takes it. Now, while Bjergsen was going for the blue buff, Cloud9 goes for the Baron on top of a ward.
That Blade of the Rune King as well from High, helping to cut this down with Sneaky, and Cloud9 on the back foot the entire game. Come up again with Baron, come up again with a fight. Not that turns this game on its head. This one has always been close, but they bring it right back into a very heated match.
Wow, Cloud9 wins a mid-game team fight with a good Sejuani ultimate on one of the sides. Somehow Cloud9 wins it. They take Baron, and then they try and take control of the game. What a close battle both of these games have been for the first 30 minutes. And the brazenness of Cloud9 there is, I actually want to point out something they did very smart on that Baron. They know how many wards TSM can spam. TSM was placing a ward inside the pit. Cloud9 did not want to waste any hits on wards that were not towards the Baron. I checked that it wasn't some type of vision bug. The pink ward very clearly saw the ward that was being placed in the back of the pit. But Cloud9 knew they could not kill all the wards that TSM would place. They focused all their damage onto Baron because they knew TSM. They had spotted them on the other side of the map. They rushed it down. They get the Baron. Great calls.
Also, Ben, something we've heard Meteos say is he is a complete trust for the team if there's ever a call to stop. Everybody stop. They know to do that, and they'll continue it. Just something that they keep a very calm, cool head about. And it's a very scary situation that can really throw a lot of people off. Turtle here, putting the shell on, gets just half damage onto High, cannot trade back. Elimination, however, gives a binding out to boot on that one. 1 minute here on to Dragon. It'd be great for Cloud9 to put a little bit more damage down, but they may just be able to burn this and head out.
Such an amazingly close game and series right here. I mean, game 1 was hinged on team fighting on Cloud9. Game 2, TSM has that really big mid-game power spike with the Luden's Echo Kog'Maw. He's going to be hitting another one pretty soon if he completes either Leandry's or Void Staff on AP Cog and really start wrecking people. And in these best-of-5 series, we've seen so many games, so many series go all 5 games. We've seen 2-0s, reverse sweeps. But specifically for this Cloud9 versus TSM team, like, we know that they play each other really tight and they're going to be trading a lot of games. It is highly unlikely that if Cloud9 goes up 2-0, that TSM actually wins 3 games consecutively when Cloud9 can play this tight every game. So they have to kind of trade games, and there's a little bit of luck in this series in winning it as well when the teams are as close as they're proving to be today. TSM has to win this one, and it's close.
Well, they're putting all their eggs in that basket of the Kog'Maw. Again, another elixir built up onto Bjergsen. 800 gold worth, unless he snuck another one by. It could be 1,200, but I think it's only been 2 have gone towards getting those spikes, trying to make sure the fight's theirs. With Cloud9,
I mean,
not worried about the Dragon.
Cloud9 has Baron. TSM.
Right.
You could do that if there's not Baron minions up to mid lane. Cloud9 might get an inhibitor off of this.
Well, having those 2 games in a row may be something that Cloud9 gets to work with. Great damage you see coming from that Bjergsen Luden's Echo.
Where's the fight? They're kind of trapped in the base now.
Lost Boys, oh, so far
out.
Behind them. Gonna miss him. Santorin does come in. Balls in elimination right there. Sneaky's actually hit on the backside, but now he's able to fire from that area. It's just a shooting range for him and High here as Meteos is on the front. TSM now try to turn the tide of the fight. Soul Furnace is on for Dyrus, but he does not have catch potential. That's Roar the Slayer actually hit High. He velks away, and this is what a chase is going on. They better have their laces tied. No tripping up here, Cloud9. Because TSM is on a rampage down mid lane. 3 dragons that they're pushing with right now. It's going to help them to get through these turrets, get through these waves. It looks like they're backing off for the time being to get those waves pushed.
Critical skill shot accuracy. Those living artilleries are not easy to land, not easy to dodge. It's skill that's involved there. Bjergsen lands again and again onto High on the tail end of that fight, eventually giving TSM the advantage, which saves what was a really bad call by TSM, if we're going to be honest about it. Going for Dragon when the enemy team has Baron. Yes, TSM got the Dragon, which gave them that 5% move speed, but they lost 2 mid lane turrets including the door to their base,
Yeah.
which is now wide open for an inhibitor that can be taken. The ironic thing about all that is because they had the 5% move speed, they could chase down for the extra kills.
They could indeed. They did not stop running down that mid lane. And they picked up a few that also helps stop Cloud9, helps TSM stop Cloud9 from getting back into the lanes quick and getting everything pushed. A little bit of breathing room for both teams and only a 600 gold lead. So slowly going up with the minions being farmed for TSM. 4 to 5 in turrets. Really looking at that mid inhib now. C9 has something to go after every time. Force TSM into a fight that they have to fight. It's going to be very tough. However, that choke point could be exactly what Santorin wants Cloud9 to walk through in the front doorstep.
And a pretty dangerous situation Cloud9 was in last fight, where Sejuani actually snuck around behind them.
Yeah, that
and
was a good call.
Was able to get pretty good ultimate off. Surprisingly, with all the tank initiation from TSM, the carries of Cloud9 have remained very safe throughout this game. 0 deaths onto Sneaky, who's building up more and more damage. 1 death onto High. They have been slicing through Santorin and Dyrus, who are doing their damnedest to build up armor and stuff, but with 2 Last Whispers and 1 Blade of the Ruined King, they're not going to last long, ever. Cloud9 is only going to be building more damage, and it becomes kind of a tricky proposition for TSM to create long team fights for which AP Kog'Maw to poke. They need to be able to have control, poke outside the turrets, and not need the tanks to be taking damage in order for Bjergsen to be doing it.
Much more of an on the same page fight. A lot of these have been scattered.
Good lord.
Hello.
It's that Void Staff that he completed as well, giving him that extra bit of damage.
Also went for distortion boots as well to keep himself safe with that Ghost and Flash as much as possible. Haunting guys for Bjergsen in that inventory as well. He is leading the charge without fear here down the mid lane. Doesn't even have to worry about much. They have a free escape to the top side, so TSM already knows their exit here, and they're playing this one with confidence.
That's exactly what TSM needed to do. Bjergsen landed the poke that wasn't in a team fight, and now they're setting up a push. They push down mid, forces a Cloud9 defense. Therefore, they can take the top turret. That Kog'Maw.
Game starts to get hard when you can't actually see the people attacking you. And now TSM is going to start forcing their own inhib. Ultimate is up for Meteos. Won't be a explosive cask off the turret. They have the minion wave just for now. Looks like they actually won't go for too much. Baron is in 1 second, chat.
Yeah, and this game could slingshot back and forth in a couple of ways. The Baron being a big one of them, but the closer Cloud9 gets to their base, the easier it is for them to recover from Kog'Maw poke. So it's actually harder to push down turrets the closer TSM gets in the turret siege. This is a very bold force. I do not like that initiation from Dyrus. Here comes the TP.
Still had to flash it. Ken Ball's getting to range. He actually gets out of the way of Dyrus's decimating smash. They play it safe on this one, so that is a TP down, however. On the side of Cloud9, a flash down as well for High. As we look at the other summoners, all is right as rain for TSM.
Yeah, smart by TSM to not commit to a fight just because the Sion had used his ultimate. Cloud9 was holding their main cooldowns as well, didn't commit either. This is the vision game right now. Sentinels, pink wards, and there they are.
That's the tank. He's supposed to live the longest. Balls still throws himself into the fray. 48 seconds on these death timers right now. Both teams are losing a lot of health. It's Santorin that goes, however, for High, a priority target, and Bjergsen's able to help take him down before Santorin can get there. C9 is now running for the hills and actually running the wrong way towards TSM base.
They're going to be getting hit by a lot of poke. Where are they going?
Soul Furnace does not take down Lemonation. He may be able to push it. No, he tries to get a hit on the minion, but it died already. It doesn't actually go anywhere. A nice living artillery takes down Lemonation. Sneaky is dip, dodge, and dive in for his life. Takes a turret shot, and it's only a matter of time before he eventually goes down to the Voidoos of Bjergsen.
Bjergsen landing all the spells in these fights. It is so difficult to play against. TSM is making Cloud9 dodge in too many directions, and eventually they will hit them. Big time fight there by TSM, and it's all because they controlled the vision. That is what TSM specializes in, getting an edge, baiting a team into a bad situation, and then winning the ensuing fight.
All right, they got this, right?
Easy. Easy, Riv. They got this.
Woo! All right. That was a little too close for comfort. But Dyrus, he plays with death every game, so he's used to it. Wild Turtle, this will not be yours, says Balls and High. They're going to come in.
He's going to try and stop.
Oh, that holy macaroni. Wild Turtle.
That's actually really
Says,
critical. Not
yes,
only
this
does
is
TSM
mine.
have the Baron.
There's more poke.
Yeah. Now the poke arrives, and TSM's going to be able to secure that 4th dragon.
No way.
Yeah. One-man army there, Wild Turtle.
One-man army indeed. Wild Turtle coming up very big. They couldn't have touched him on the Kalista. High is definitely not going to be hitting any of those skill shots as Turtle is just bouncing around. Great play come from him. Haven't actually seen too much Kalista play from the side of Team SoloMid this season. It's working
No,
out.
except for that highlight of him getting a pentakill last night in solo queue for Wild Turtle.
Yeah,
But
right.
this fight itself, great Sejuani ultimate, for one. But mainly the positioning by Bjergsen is the critical thing right there. Yes, they could close on a Wild Turtle, but unless they can close on a Bjergsen, they are never truly safe. Because High had gone down, there's not enough sustained damage to take out the tanks, which gives Bjergsen time to go to work.
7-0-3. So he's been doing some good work this game.
Man, I want to see the damage dealt to enemy champions after this game because Bjergsen has been crushing it.
Really is.
Poke champions almost always have higher damage dealt to champions, by the way, because they get access to so many more damaging opportunities. But this one's going to be off the charts.
Santorin, a little HP to take that damage. Cloud9 is in a very weird formation for this right now, but High can Valk over the wall and get himself to safety. However, this turret doesn't get too much protection out of this kind of half-moon strategy they have going on.
I mean, Cloud9's in a really tough spot.
Yeah.
Right here. I think it's at least one inhibitor down. They're going to try and hold the second one. Sneaky got hit by a bit too much poke before that fight.
Well, for having a poke comp, they are lining themselves up parallel to TSM for those shots. They just cannot get them to count. That was just the cue. There's a lot of damage to actually follow from the abilities that are made to do the damage. 2 Blade of the Rune Kings now finished up as Sneaky and High are trying to get themselves a bit of peel and a bit of safety, as well as somehow to cut through Santorin and Dyrus at this point. TSM, another push towards the bottom lane with a huge wave crashing in towards the top.
Yeah,
they should be in the
cannon
base.
minions already. I mean, Cloud9 would have to initiate. They're going to try, but this is desperation.
Wild Turtle's on the back. Lustboy decides to stay on the outer ring. Love how he's using the ultimate on that one. Fate's Call throws him right into balls, and that's going to cut down the tree. A double kill for Wild Turtle there. The composition of Team SoloMid this game just being used so well to get the poke damage, initiate, and make Cloud9 start fights with a disadvantage.
Yep, Bjergsen, unreal Kog'Maw damage right now. Trying to kill people on the fountain with this poke.
Whoa!
Good God.
You are not safe on that fountain. You better be asking for your Guardian Angel at this point. That's 1, that's 2. That turret is actually not a kill for Wild Turtles. Only 2 kills there, but the Nexus goes down, and Team SoloMid tie up the series 1-1 against Cloud9.
Some significant style points coming through at the end for the clean ace on Cloud9 as well, showing, well, yeah, we didn't even have to use Sejuani ult to get into your base. But this is what we expected from Cloud9 TSM. Close, hard-fought games. Both games 1 and 2, incredibly close early games. They turn at some point in the mid-game, and then the teams are good enough to hold those advantages. You know, Cloud9 fought back. This game was even at 30 minutes, but they eventually couldn't deal with that really potent AP Kog'Maw. Riv, you're looking at the damage dealt to champions right now.
I'm actually seeing
55,000.
Yeah, so he
by
pretty much
Bjergsen.
doubled High's damage this game.
He doubled everyone else in the game.
Yeah.
In damage dealt to champions
Almost
right
tripled
there.
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous stuff. Bjergsen pulling out the Kog'Maw, and Wild Turtle with the Kalista, like you were saying, a pentakill last night, feeling good, kind of just flips it into the game now. Amazing stuff for Team SoloMid to not even really be hit mentally by that first game.
And the most critical thing there is Bjergsen still carried the game, but only after 30 minutes. He was not able to carry them through the early game and the mid game because that's just not the way that AP Kog'Maw works. He needs the max range on that living artillery so he can hit you when you can't even see him.
Yeah, first range living artillery is still pretty short. It's not going to win you the game.
But then once he got that going, Cloud9 didn't have a big enough advantage.
So much damage.
They didn't have enough hard initiation tools to really get on top of Bjergsen's Kog'Maw. And TSM wins with a different style that wasn't Assassin Bjergsen in the mid lane.
Now this brings about one of my favorite points is what does the team do now with that new pick? Because I don't feel like banning out something like Kog'Maw is a defeated sense, right? That's definitely something that Bjergsen can use again
They might have
win
to.
the game.
honestly.
But no, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Do they just ban it out now? I think they're going to have to.
Yeah, I mean, they do have a lot to work with. They have those 2 bans they're throwing at Lustboy right now.
Right.
Yes,
Can switch
it
it up.
changes. Lustboy's very dangerous on Thresh and Janna, but there may be other priorities in the rest of the series.
All right, we'll have to see. We definitely have more to talk about and some other definite gentlemen to talk about it for us. Let's see what our analysts have to say on TSM's series tying win.
Thank you, Riv. 1-1. We've got ourselves a series.
Yep.
I'm sure many people are very happy about that, but what I want to talk about is the fact that TSM did make some of the adjustments we had talked about in the previous segment to their team comp in terms of preparing it a little bit more for straight-up team fights by giving themselves a front line this time around.
I said pick a team fight or pick a Kog'Maw, and they did both. Kog'Maw was an AD. I didn't specify.
Yeah, sure.
But that was actually a brilliant last pick by Bjergsen because nothing can really reach him. And I was talking to Freak actually during the game. I was like, I would be surprised if Bjergsen dies this game, even if they lose, because you can't reach him. You can just disengage him with a Gragas barrel, and that's about it. He's going to get his poke off. If he runs out of mana, then he's a non-factor.
Yeah.
But that's really what it came down to, was can he get that poke off? Can they get to the level 16?
And what was cool is that TSM made these adaptations to their composition while still staying true to what TSM wants to do, right? Dyrus, yep, you're going to be essentially 1v2'd by the enemy jungler. Shield max Sion. He's not even coming in with the illusion of having lane pressure himself. There's no reason he wants any kill pressure whatsoever, so that's already right there. Not Lulu, but Sion, that's fine. Bjergsen is still playing a champion where if TSM goes for a siege, something they like to do, he has these long-range skill shots that are effective. It was Charm last game on Ahri. This time around, it's Kog'Maw with the Living Artillery. All these tools are still here, but as you were talking about, Aiden, they put together a better teamfight composition, and that worked really well. And then it came down to 2 good team-fighting comps that come down to execution.
Right. And I love the Sion instead of the Lulu, as you mentioned, because it allows them to be more proactive in their team fighting. With the Lulu, when they were ahead, they still weren't able to force as many fights as they wanted to. Here with Sion Sejuani, we get to fight whenever we want. They throw the cannon with the Fates call in there as well. And there's no way you're getting out if we choose to pick this fight.
Yeah.
The counterplay to that, though, was C9, which we saw illustrated midway through the game, was really nice with their ability to disengage.
Yeah, it's really cool that there is a really interesting texture to how the team fights worked in this game. So on one side, you've got essentially a double Blade of the Ruin King AD carry team. Sneaky got that item 4th. Okay, later on, but High intelligently buys it 2nd. Ruin King 2nd on Corki. And Meteos does a really good job of saving his ultimate to knock back the backline of TSM. So TSM engages in, Explosive Cask pushes Corki and Kalista away, who have no good ways without using summoner spells to get back into the fight, and then the AD carries swarm down, they kill off the Sejuani, they kill off the Sion, and then we'll 5v3, do whatever we want. We saw C9 get a Baron eventually that game because of this kind of stuff, and that was cool. But as time goes on, Kog'Maw gets higher levels. He can no longer be disengaged because the ulti is so darn long. And he just scales up in damage over time. So then once TSM can reach C9's backline, well, those guys get one shot.
Well, speaking of which, we're going to pull up our replay here because we're going to go pretty far into the game where exactly that happens. We watched Bjergsen land all of his skill shots here. Irene?
Yeah, so this fight actually breaks up into 2 different parts, and I love Bjergsen's positioning during this team fight. You're going to see Santorin ulti the backline, and those are the 2 things to watch for as we roll this clip out. You're going to see Santorin be like, all right, it's time to go after the vision's been denied, and boom, Bjergsen actually kites downward and around. He doesn't even want to be close to where C9 can actually touch him. So he walks around the wall, the Sejuani ultimate hits the backline, and then he's just throwing pop shots, and he's actually covering the escape option of Cloud9 at this point.
It's an auto on High.
Yeah, it's really actually quite brilliant how Bjergsen plays out this entire game.
We do see some pretty fantastic kiting here by Sneaky too, even at the end, just to no avail as he's fending off 1v4.
Yeah, and like I said, he covered their escape option, so all of C9 has to run up instead of back and out, and then they get picked off. Just because he has so much mana, he got the Archangel Staff 2nd, that he's able to just keep throwing these skill shots out. And Sneaky, he tries his damnedest every game. This guy is so solid. And right here, it almost looks like he's going to start getting kills, but Bjergsen, out of nowhere.
With the snipe, absolutely. So, you know, that was another thing you talked about, Freak, was the mid lane stepping up here for TSM, right? If they're going to put focus mid lane and get him some early advantages, that they need to then use them more effectively throughout the rest of the game.
You have the best player in North America in Bjergsen. I think everyone can agree, right? MVP winner. He's probably going to be the MVP winner of this series as well, seeing games like this. Bjergsen's the best player in this entire league. He better put on a good performance, or TSM, what are you doing with this player, right? And so it was good to see him. Now, it was a different style. It wasn't go win lane, win game. It was survive lane, scale into infinity. And hey, that's fine too, just as long as he's doing something that impacts the game. And by God, Bjergsen certainly did. So
that's the thing, is they adapted from that first game and said, we're going to play some team fights. We don't need to have him win lane straight out and then try to transition that.
Yeah.
Just pick a laner that's going to decimate team fights when you get there. And that's what they played for. Even though they lost like the level 1 lane swap and all that with the greedy start, they were able to recover and just stall out for that late game. So I love the adaptation there by TSM.
All right, the last thing I kind of want to talk about is a very minor thing. When we look at this double 80 carry composition, we saw this massive front line. Yesterday, we saw an interesting pickup on I Will Dominate, the Zeke's Herald onto the jungler for his 280 carries, one of which was building AP. So maybe not the best buy. He said Piglet requested it. But here, when you talk about how high those, or how big those tanks are scaling, while this damage is coming in from a Kog'Maw that you're not going to be able to get to unless you get through the tanks, would a Zeke's Herald or something like itemization, slightly different itemization, have helped here?
So I'll actually give my opinion on Zeke's Herald is that it's actually really good in double 80 compositions when the enemies have Thornmail and things that your 80 carries are killing themselves off of, because you want that extra life steal and it gives you that boost. So that's my opinion on it. It's very situational. Itemization against the Kog'Maw, it's difficult because you need Righteous Glories. You need to just run straight through. The Sejuani's going to disengage you, though. Gragas, it's really hard to deal with it because it's that last pick Kog'Maw, so they need something to flank. It's all about the positioning. I don't know so much about itemization.
Yeah, I mean, if there was going to be an itemization point in the first place, I think it'd be C9 should probably play double Locket here. They were eventually just getting shut down by all the magic damage that was coming out. And, okay, double Locket, right, there's some anti-synergy, the shield's half value, the aura, the second aura only affects 2 people, but just having a little bit of extra, just don't get one shot by Cog Burst and ensuring the aura is there for the rest of the team, that actually could have been like the one itemization choice to really make here. But overall, I mean, you don't have great hard engage. You're looking for Morg bindings and body slam flashes. Like, none of those are actually going to reach Kog'Maw. So if you're not running assassins, and of course they can tell that because they picked Cog, like, that's just, this champ is going to work against that comp.
It's a double-pronged threat, too, because it's Wild Turtle on Callisto. You need point and clicks to lock him up, so if the Maokai gets in there and uses them all on him, doesn't have them for Kog'Maw. The ideal situation is to have them grouped and deal with them at the same time, but you saw Bjergsen's like, nope, nothing to do with Wild Turtle, basically stayed 10 feet away from it all time.
Yeah, Fabulous play individually for both of them in terms of positioning in those team fights, making sure they kept the 2 threats separated from each other. Well, that's going to about do it for us here at the Analyst Segment. We have an amazing crowd out here watching with us today.
We do.
Here in Los Angeles, but there are a ton of viewing parties happening all over today. Here are the fans in Toronto where they have taken over a theater and are watching the game in style. A big screen for some big championship action. That's right. We got our own big screen here. We got a big crowd, and everything's good. But we're going to step away while Team SoloMid and Cloud9 prepare for our round 3 of the championship finals. So don't go anywhere.
That movie was so hyped, dude. E.T. goes home.
Dude, that movie was sick.
E.T. literally went home, though.
Dude, don't spoil the movie.
Wait, did he go home?
Yeah, with the spaceship.
Dude, don't spoil the movie.
Yeah.
Lustboy didn't need to go too deep.
Lemon.
Dyrus from downtown just crushes Lemon Nation. Throws down the ulti right into the team. He gets the 3-man pop-up as well. The follow-up now from Lustboy throws himself into the fray. 48 seconds on these death timers right now. Both teams are losing a lot of health.
I'm ghosting. I'm fine. Comedios.
Give me this.
I still have my ult.
Balls. Give us.
I still have my ult. We can keep going. I'm chasing Lemon.
Team SoloMid tie up the series 1-1 against Cloud9.